Hi, my name is Nur Afina binti Ahmad Sani. So I'm going to explain the introductions. Risk assessment is a term used to describe the overall process or method where identify hazard and risk factor that have the potential to cause harm. Analyze and evaluate the risk associated with that hazard, which is risk analysis and risk evaluations. Determine appropriate ways to eliminate the hazard or control the risk when the hazard cannot be eliminated. That risk control. A risk assessment is a true look at your workplace to identify those things, situations, process that may cause harm and particularly to people. After identification is made, automatically can decide what measure should be in place to effectively eliminate or control the harm from happening. By law, every employer must conduct risk assessment on the work to their employees. If the company or organization employs more than 5 employees, then the result should be recorded with details of any groups of employees particularly at risk, such as younger, older, pregnant, and disabled employees. Among the risks that may be accounted in the workplace are safety hazard, where this hazard was affect worker working directly with machines or on construction site. Safety hazards are unsafe working conditions that can result in injury, illness, and death. Next is biological hazards. Commonly, we know as biohazards can be biological substance that can harm humans. Exposure to biological hazard or disease from working with animals, peoples, or infectious plants materials. For the examples, blood and other body fluids, bacteria and virus, plants, insect bites, animal and bird droppings. Of all the hazards in your workplace, physical hazard might the least obvious. Despite their name, physical hazards are not always something that you can see or touch, and physical hazard affect worker in extreme weather condition or harmful working environments like radiation, high exposure to sunlight and or ultraviolet light, temperature extreme, whether hot or cold, and constant loud noise. Other than that, ergonomic safety hazard occur when the type of work, body position, and working condition put a strain on your body, which is improperly adjust workstation and chairs, frequent lifting, and poor posture. Also, chemical hazards are present when a worker is exposed to any chemical preparations in the workplace in any form such as solid, liquid, or gas. Last is a work organization hazard that cause stress in short term and strain in long term effect. For the example is workload demands, workplace violence, and high intensity and pace.
Hello to everyone, my name is Adeline N. Baybayan. Today I will explain about importance of risk management. Okay, the risk management is important because it's such unforeseen situation to protect our organization and business. Risk management help to prepare for all expected event in advance. A specific and detailed risk management system is vital in terms of business and all situation. Why the risk management is important? Because risk management can save business money. Risk assessment reduce the chance of injury in the workplace. There are many benefits of risk management. For example, risk management in business. Risk management is essential part of effective business planning, and organization are expected to prove a safe environment for worker. A specific and detailed risk management system is a vital investment for all business. There are four reasons why management is so important. First reason why risk management is important is because to reduce the likelihood of workplace accident to safety audits and infection, help business identify area to improve work processes, signature or training. The second is assessment, reduce and prevent fine, lawsuit and penalties non-compliance issue. Every organization must comply by their state regulation. Risk assessment show employees the business care about their safety. Two, staff value business resources, provide them with more knowledge and responsibility to improving safety management system for higher moral by showing trust. Another reason why risk management is important is because to help reduce uncertainty in any bad business, such a factor the lesser the threat posed by certainty by true part analysis can be useful. This because companies generally exist in a complex ecosystem of constant politics, social, economic, and environment unhelpful, unexpected event risk from any of pair can have the major impact of the organization. Know how identify when the effect is core component of risk management.
Assalamualaikum and hi. My name is Norfika binti Naushad, and I will define about our project, which is Safety Risk at Workplace Assessment. Workplace safety risk assessment is a way that aims to identify hazard risks and a way to manage those hazards risks systematically. To implement this assessment successfully, it requires a thorough inspection of the overall workplace environment, processes, and equipment to identify hazardous risks to employees' health, as well as the implementation of appropriate improvements. Employees, business, and compliance with the law will all benefit from the implementation of this workplace safety risk assessment. The implementation of this assessment can increase employees' awareness of hazard risks in the workplace, help identify employees at risk, determine the effectiveness of existing control measures, prevent illness and injury, as well as prioritize hazard risks and control measures. Our workplace safety risk assessment consists of 5 stages. The first one is identifying a hazard. Hazard is anything that could hurt you or someone else. Employers have a duty to assess the health and safety risks faced by their staff. Employer must systematically check for possible any workplace hazards. Example of workplace hazards is frayed electrical cords and boxes taken precariously. Next stage is deciding on who may be harmed and how. Identify who is at risk starts with organizations on full and part-time employees. Employers must also assess risks faced by agency and contract staff, visitors, clients, and other members of their public on their premises. Employers must review work routines in all different locations and situations where the staff are employed. Moreover, assess the risk and take action. Employees must consider how likely it is that each hazard could cause harm. This will determine whether or not employers should reduce the level of risk. Even after all precautions have been taken, some risk usually remains. Employers must decide for each remaining hazard whether the risk remains high, medium, or low. Other than that, make a record of the findings. Employers with 5 or more employees must record the main findings of the risk assessment in writing. This record should include information about any hazards identified during the risk assessment, as well as the steps taken to mitigate or eliminate the risk. This record serves as proof that the assessment was completed, as well as a foundation for a subsequent review of working practice. Last but not least, review the risk assessment. A risk assessment must be kept under review in order to ensure that agreed safe working practices continue to be applied and take account of any new working practices, new machinery, and more demanding work targets.
Assalamualaikum and hello everyone. I'm Nasha Zaina Ayuni binti Zainal Abidin, and now I want to explain about risk analysis. Risk analysis is a technique used to identify and assess factors that may jeopardize the success of a project or achieving a goal. This technique also helps to define preventive measures to reduce the probability of this factor from occurring and identify countermeasures to a successful deal with this constraint when they develop to ever possible negative effect on the competitiveness of the company. Then, risk analysis involves examining how project outcome and objective might change due to the impact of the risk event. Once the risks are identified, there are analyses to identify the qualitative and quantitative impact of the risk on the project so that appropriate steps can be taken to mitigate them. Then, probability risk assessment is a systematic and comprehensive methodology to evaluate risk associated with a complex technological entity or the effect of stressor on the environment. Probability environment risk assessment for the example. Then, risk in a probability risk assessment is defined as a feasible detrimental outcome of an activity or action. In a probability risk assessment, risk is characterized by two quantities. That is the magnitude severity of the possible adverse consequence and the likelihood probability of occurrence of each consequence. Then, consequences are expressed numerically. The example is the number of people potentially hurt or killed, and their likelihood of occurrence are expressed as probability or frequency. The example is number of occurrence or the probability of occurrence per unit time. The total risk is the expected loss, the sum of the product of the consequence multiplied by the probabilities. But risk control or measure is action that are taken in a response to a risk factor that has the potential to cause accident or harm in the workplace. The control measure can either be designed to reduce the risk or eliminate them completely, with the latter obviously being preferred.
Assalamualaikum and hello. My name is Iman Nur Aina. I would like to present about risk assessment. Risk assessment is a term used to describe the overall process or method where you identify hazard and risk factors that have a potential to cause harm. Analyze and evaluate the risk associated with that hazard. Probability. The likelihood that given the exposure, the projected consequences will occur. Training, situational awareness, moral and attitude change are used to mitigate probability. Risk identification is the process of determining risks that could potentially prevent the program, enterprise, or investment from achieving its objective. It includes documenting and communicating the concern. That's all. Thank you.
In conclusion, it's shown that most of the accidents happen is due to unsafe and unsafe conditions which are human element. Poor site management and failure to use PPE. Moreover, management system and social pressure also indirectly cause accident happen. Both of them are categorized as secondary cause. There is several safety measures used in order to reduce or minimize the rate of the accident happen. Safety measure is the method used to improve the safety performance at any workplace. Effective safety measure can result in reducing of rate of the accident happen. The safety measure used in the site will directly affect the safety performance in every single construction project.